listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. I'm, of course, your host, Brian Beatty, continuing our discussion about the real estate market. If you're just tuning in, I just gave you guys kind of a 30,000-foot view of what's happening nationally in our real estate market. What are some of the challenges that we're facing? What are some concerns that I have? And how's that impacting the market? What should we be looking at moving forward? What should you know if you're going to buy a house? Should you buy a house or should you rent? Should you delay that decision? If you're going to sell a house, same questions. I want to answer those. But I want to first talk about what's happening here in Charleston, our specific market. That's my bread and butter. I've sold real estate here for going on 14 years, and I've been in the top 1% of agents here every year for the past decade. And so I share my experience with you on this radio show so that you guys better understand what's happening in the market and so that you can prepare for your upcoming purchase, your upcoming sale. Maybe you want to invest in real estate, and you're just armed with the knowledge of not only what's happening in the market, but the process as well. Now, I want people to have very clear expectations about what happens when you decide to buy a house, what happens when you decide to sell a house. And so if I can do that, if I can help you in any way, whether it be helping you buy or sell a home. Maybe you just have some general questions. Maybe you want to put a plan together for, several months, a year down the road. Happy to do that and would love the opportunity to do so. I can be reached at 843-400-8009, 843-400-8009. Call or text that number. That's my cell. So that's not an on-air call. 400-8009. Or visit me online, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. So continue our discussion about the market, and then I want to move into, what should you be doing right now if you're a buyer? How should you be looking at this market? Where are the opportunities? And then same questions, of course, if you're a seller. But let's just talk about some of these local market stats, because everybody always wants to know, so hey, how's the market? When people ask me the question of how's the market, I've been asked it so many, probably thousands of times, tens of thousands of times, that you just get kind of trained to give this blanket statement of, oh, it's good, which really just means, oh yeah, our business is good. But when people ask, hey, how's the market? I want to give some detailed information. I'm going to do that through some stats and just through some comparison to what our market looked like last year. So as an example, if you look at the number of homes that were available for sale at the end of July compared to July of 2018, in Charleston County, inventory was down 1.5%. In Berkeley County, it was down, Berkeley County and Dorchester County, it was down 16%. So less homes available for sale across the board. Not a big difference in Charleston County. If you look at what's under contract, we call that pending sales. In Charleston County, it's up 33% compared to this time last year. Berkeley County's at 6% and Dorchester County's at 12%. And if you look at the homes that are actually closing, Charleston County is up 10%, Berkeley County is up 11%, and Dorchester County is down 7.5%. So all of that ties into something that we call month's supply of inventory. A month's supply of inventory is essentially how we measure the health of a real estate market. The more months supply we have, the more it's a buyer's market. The more choice they have. Obviously, the less months supply of inventory we have, it's a seller's market. There are a lot of buyers fighting over very few properties, which is what causes prices to go up, which is where we've been for the past several years. And if you look at overall supply in Charleston County, we're at 4.5 months, which is, there's been no change since this time last year. Berkeley County, though, we're at 2.5 months, and Dorchester County, we're at 2.4 months supply of inventory, which is down 17% and 14%, respectively. So here's what's happening with median sales price. All that takes into the median sales price is a function of those things, plus a few others, but the median sales price in Charleston right now, which is a very skewed stat. This is Charleston County, but you have to understand that in Charleston County, you have downtown Charleston, you have areas of North Charleston, and everything in between. But in Charleston County, the median sales price right now is $335,000. That's up 1% from this time last year. Berkeley County is at $252,000. They're up 4%. And Dorchester County is at $236,000, and they're up 2.6%. But here's some interesting stats. And when I sit down with a seller and we talk about the market, we get incredibly specific about what's happening in their specific section of the market. I want to know what what is happening to other homes in their area, in their neighborhood, in their price range with similar features, so that I can give them a really clear expectation of what's going to happen once we put this property on the market. You know, how long is it going to take to sell? What's the average negotiability on a home once it's listed? Or the difference between the list price and the ultimate sales price? How many showings should you be getting on a monthly basis? How many price reductions have there been in this area? And how does that compare to last year? So here are some of those stats. And I want to touch on this for just a little bit. Stay here, and then we'll shift into those questions of what should you be doing right now with this information. If you're a buyer, how should you be approaching this market? Same thing if you're a seller. So median days on market, you know, the amount of time that it's taking to sell a property. In Charleston County, it's up 29%. It's taking 29% longer. In Berkeley County, it's up 18%. In Dorchester County, it's up 23%. And if you look at the number of showings that you're supposed to be getting on a monthly average, you know, all this data is incredibly important because, again, when I sit down with a seller and I say, okay, here are our targets, we should be getting X number of showings per month. If we're not getting the activity, then we need to better understand why. And of course, we're going to monitor feedback and we're going to understand what individual buyers that looked at it had to say. But it's also the job of the listing agent to look between the lines, to look for the lack of activity and draw some conclusions from that. And so many agents don't do that because they perceive it to be too forceful a conversation with the seller. And let me just stay here for a second because this is a challenge in this market right now. Sellers have their home on the market. They may or may not be getting the number of showings they're supposed to be getting on a monthly average, which is all tracked and it's all very defined down to a specific neighborhood and the price range within it. But when I go on these appointments with folks that had their home on the market and it didn't sell, and now they obviously want to sell and they want to get it right this time, and I ask, how many showings did you have over the past, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? They don't know. The agents aren't telling them. All they're getting is the feedback. They're not having those specific conversations about, are we on target or not? Are we getting the activity that we're supposed to be getting? If the answer is no, then there's clearly a reason why. If in the feedback that you're getting, you're consistently middle of the road, let's say the buyer looked at 5 properties and you're number 3, 4, or 5 on the list consistently, well, then that means you have a value proposition problem. You're helping the other 2 listings ahead of you sell faster. You always want to be the first or second choice. Now, some people don't want to be that aggressive, and that's fine. And sometimes there are strategies that can be incorporated that intentionally leave your home on the market for a little longer rather than trying to sell it in the first 2 weeks, which obviously is not everybody's goal. But when you look at the stats and you use them as your targets, it changes the conversation between you and your real estate agent, because you know what you're supposed to be doing, and you know that if you're not hitting those targets, or let's say you're getting the showings but you're not getting offers, there's a reason. And your agent should be able to very clearly tell you what those reasons are and what the remedy is. So if you look at the number of showings in Charleston County, it's down 4%. Berkeley County, it's down 5%. Dorchester County, it's up 9%. But let's look at price reductions. Price reductions, I'll say this. Price reduction conversations with sellers are probably the most stressful conversation that agents have with their clients. I used to have anxiety about that because I was a young agent. I got licensed when I was 21. People were giving me a shot because I was tenacious and because I knew my market and because I had a plan, whereas most agents don't even have a plan. They might have had more experience than I did. Well, anybody has more experience than an agent that's done a few deals, but I was tenacious and I watched the market like a hawk, and that's what kind of created this pattern that I now share with you on this radio show of what's happening in this market. I just have such a good pulse on it and understand it at such a high level that, when folks hire me to help sell their home, we're having very intelligent, high-level conversations about what's happening right now, what's likely going to happen, and here's how we can manipulate what's happening right now to our benefit. And here's how we need to position ourselves accordingly. And so if you look at the number of price reductions, relative to the fact that if you look at inventory, I mean, inventory is down across the board, right? Charleston County, it's down 1.5%. Berkeley County and Dorchester County, it's down 16%. So there are less homes available for sale. However, if you look at price reductions, they're up 16% from last year, and they're up 22% from the year before that. So you have sellers and agents that are now realizing, okay, we put the property on the market for too much money. We get that now. We're not getting the showings. We're not getting the activity. Let's go ahead and reduce the price. The only challenge with that is that when you intentionally overprice a listing initially, if you look at the stats, I mean, the stats are clear as day. You will sell the home for less money than you would have had you priced the home correctly when you first listed it. But because there are so many real estate agents out there and there are so few listings and everybody's fighting for inventory that they can sell, because that's what a listing is to a real estate agent. It's their inventory, right? That's how they market their business and their listings and create income opportunities for themselves, and then find more buyers that maybe inquired about the property but don't want to buy that specific one, but they want to buy something else. I mean, obviously the goal is to sell the listing because that's what you were hired to do, but it's also the goal to market it in as many different ways as possible to find as many different people that have an initial interest in it as possible. And then as you're going through the process of either showing the property or sharing the information with them, not everybody's going to be interested and want to buy the house. That's just not how it works. So you have all these agents that are fighting for opportunities to get a listing. And so while listing inventory naturally in our market is going down, and the inventory of real estate agents has doubled over the past decade, the market share for agents like me that have been in the business for going on 14 years is just smaller. There are just more agents fighting for less inventory. And so it creates this environment in which agents are telling sellers what they want to hear, especially from a listing price standpoint, just to get the listing. As long as they have something to market, then they're not out of business. The challenge is, how do you know as a seller whether the price they're telling you is the one that's going to cause your home to sell or not? And the easiest way to answer that question is to watch that real estate agent explain why they think you should list at that price and prove it through data. If they come in and it's just a shotgun blast approach to pricing, it's a shoot from the hip price. They walk through and say, "Yeah, I think you should be at $599." Don't take that at face value. You have to verify that information. And so that's why when I sit down with sellers, I bring my laptop and I show them exactly what I see. I show them the raw data and we look through it together. And my hope is that they agree with my conclusion, because not every appointment I go on is a very positive one, because I'm going to tell the seller the price that the home needs to be at in order to sell, regardless of whether they like that price or not. That's what you want from a real estate agent. You want somebody that is going to tell you the truth. Yet so many agents out there are telling the price that sellers want to hear so that they get all excited about it, they get hopeful, and then when they realize it's not going to sell for that price, this agent has had 4, 6, 8 weeks worth of working with you, and all they have to do is work really hard for 4 weeks to earn your trust and then get a price reduction, and then maybe they sell it. Unfortunately for you, the seller, you have wasted 30 days, and the people that saw your property when it first hit the market, the people that were ready, willing, and able to buy right now, they just haven't found what they're looking for yet. They passed you up because they knew you were overpriced. And so now they're watching your property. If they haven't bought anything yet, they see you do a price reduction, and they're just going to sit and they're going to wait for you to do it again. They're going to wait for it to be worth your while. Whereas if you had priced it at what it's worth, maybe even 1% or 2% below what it's worth, then you would have had people fighting over it, and you would have sold it for fair market value in a very short amount of time. Now you're having to sift through buyers that are entering the market every day because now something has changed in their lives. Now they're ready to buy, which is kind of this separate group of people. Right now, let's say that they've had their home on the market. Now it goes under contract. Now they want to put something else under contract to buy, or maybe they're relocating to the area. Or maybe they just found out they're having their 5th child and need more space, whatever the case might be. But as time goes on, buyers and their agents understand that you have less people interested in your home. And that's where they get you. And so when we come back, I want to explore that idea a little bit further. What are you going to do if you're a buyer right now? How are you going to take this information and the fact that there are sellers that have been sitting on the market that are clearly frustrated, that don't really understand why their home hasn't sold, and likely haven't even seen an offer yet? If we're going to give them an offer, how do we structure it? How do we take advantage of this opportunity, this shift in the market, to help you as a buyer? Because a lot of past several years, it's been all about the seller. They've been the ones that have been winning the game. So now we've got a little ammunition. Let's use that to our advantage, and I'm going to give that information to you when we come back right here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. And again, if you want to reach out to me to talk more about your interest in working with myself and my team to help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate, my number is 843-400-8009, 843-400-8009, or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. I'll be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA.